Hello. 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 Okay. Hold on. Wait, you can't hear the music anymore. Hold on. Audio output capture. Because it's an instrumental version now. There we go. Okay. Welcome once again to Alex's Live Beer Reviews Christmas Advent Calendar 2020 edition. This is all very exciting. I know. Try not to poop your pants or something. Oh, there we go. I can see me on Facebook. I can see me on... I'm just trying to make it so I can see all the chats because I send this all out to way too many places, making it incredibly complicated and difficult for myself. Because why not? There we go. I can somewhat see the chats. Barely see them. Okay, there we go. Yeah, this is looking good. Okay. So, you'll notice I can lean on that. You don't hear the creaks. I've got the mic off of the table, which is great. It's sitting on the Bible right now, which means the mic's not going to lie to you. Therefore, I'm not going to lie to you. Jet the cat was sitting there earlier, but she's on my chair having a little nap now. Got my Christmas tree still up here with all the ornaments, and this book's being clamped for some reason. I don't know. There's that creak. I don't know how... You guys might not actually be able to hear that because I turned some noise suppression on. So you have to let me know how that sounds because I can't hear it right now because I have to have the headphones on. It's fine. Okay, we're gonna kill the music now. There's no easy way for me to do this. We're gonna go here. We're gonna go here. That's enough. The music was brought to you by. What is that music called? I just realized I can't see that. Okay, there we go. Now I can see everything. Okay, so live beer reviews. All right. So you'll notice I now have beers on both sides because I have decided we're going to do recommended beers on this side and not recommended beers on this side. Now, again, if you watched yesterday's, which if you watched it, it's kind of funny because I didn't know that I wasn't live, and then I reissued it, but also reacted to my own video. It's kind of weird. But if you watched yesterday's, if you watched day 5, you know that Shades Brewing Company, it's a pina colada American ale, and it tastes fine. It's just it's not a very interesting beer. So it did not get my endorsement. Now, it's not a bad beer, right? But it's just not interesting. It's not beer enough, and I think there's a lot of things you could do better when making a beer, buying a beer. There's other drinks that would be more like that you'd probably prefer than that beer. That being said, the advent calendar's doing pretty good so far. It's got 4 thumbs up from me, only 1 thumbs down. So, 80% you're doing all right. But I digress. For today, from the Mad Swede Brewing Company, I'll bet you this isn't brewed in Sweden. What do I got here? Brewed and bottled by Mad Sweden Brewing Company in Boise, Indiana. I think that's what ID is. Yeah. All right, so Naked Sunbather, you can see maybe on the can here, it is a dog. The Naked Sunbather is a dog, so, don't worry, it's not me. Nobody wants that. Oh, look, you can see the little top of the mic right there. That's the mic. I'd prefer you not see that, but we're already partway through. Every so often, a Swede needs to soak up the sun. Naked Sunbather Nut Brown Ale is nutty and smooth with subtle roast character. Featuring delicate Northwest hops, this earthy ale is delicious all year round. Contains no nuts. Mad Swede Brewing Company opened in 2016, recent opening, with the belief that great beer is a blend of art and science. Mad Swede is comprised of adventurous drinkers, brewers, dreamers, and thinkers who, like the Vikings themselves, dare to venture towards new and exciting territory. Drink like a Viking! That's what it says. It says drink like a Viking. Yeah, so Nut Brown Ale. So brown ales, it's a darker ale. It's not a red ale. It's not a lager. It's a darker ale. So, just in general speaking, as you get darker with beers, you're gonna get more sweetness, more maltiness. Usually, when you're doing that, what you end up with is less hops, and that's not as a part of the process. That's just less hops tend to get added because they don't fit into those styles as well. So you're not going to get, generally speaking, your darker beers aren't going to be really hoppy beers. The other thing too is when you do add hops to them, what ends up happening is that the hops are sort of countered because they're more sort of a bitter in general. Get countered by the sweetness, right? So you're not quite on the same level there with what the hops does. That's why I often tell people when you're looking at the IBUs or international bitterness units on a beer, if it's a darker beer, you will be able to tolerate a higher number because the sweetness from the generally darker malts is going to make it easier to consume because there's going to be more of a balance. If you're seeing, I want to say something like, it depends on the person. If you've got 40 IBUs in a very light beer, that's going to be a fairly hoppy beer. You put those same 40 IBUs in a stout, and you're not going to notice them nearly as much. But, yeah, that's just a quick thing on darkness of beers things. But, let's see how this bad boy does. Ignore the fact that I'm putting this in a Guinness glass. It's just what I had. I actually scheduled this one ahead of time today. It's like only a half hour, but whatever. I'm doing these every night, so just be ready. Okay, here we go. I am just really bad at pouring, apparently. This is not how this is supposed to go. Come on. I'll fit the whole thing in. And I won't spill over. I'll fit the whole thing. All right. I'm kind of proud of that. I mean, I shouldn't be because of how much head there is there, but I got the whole thing in, and it didn't spill over. I'm just a little proud of that. Wow, there's some aroma going on here. That smells nice. Smells very nutty. Yeah, it's a nut brown ale. Um, Dark. Yeah. A lot of malts smell coming off of this. Yeah, that's for sure. Wow. I don't know what I'm gonna do about this. Um, you know what? Well, that's bubbling down. Let's have a word from our sponsor. Sponsor, get over here. Oh no, wait, not this sponsor. Other sponsor. I don't know why I was making the struggling sounds. Stay cool. So this actually is another game from Scorpion Mask. I talked about them previously. I'm not going to talk about them again because their name's hard to say. But I will talk about Stay Cool. So Stay Cool basically is a game where you are completing different tasks, or rather, I shouldn't say that. It's where you're answering questions, and you have two people asking you two different questions at the same time. One person you answer verbally, the other person you answer by making the word on six-sided dice that you have that all have letters on them. So what you're doing is you're trying to do both at the same time. And the more questions you answer on each side, you get more points exponentially. Well, that's all happening. There's a timer that's sitting there, and it gets flipped 4 times. And so you're up against the clock. You're trying to do this as quick as possible, and it's intense. Of course, in later rounds, you have to decide when to flip the timer, and if the timer runs out before you flip it, you lose a bunch of time, and it's crazy. It is a crazy fun game. It's just stupid to play, and everyone fails, and it's just a ton of fun. So I'm definitely going to recommend Stay Cool. Picking up at Game Night Games and Cool Stuff. Again, during this time, they are delivering. They've got pickup. So, yeah, go onto their online store, check it out. Again, any games from Scorpion Mask or Yellow, it's another company, are always great choices, but I'll specifically say Stay Cool is a great game to play. Even with non-gamers are gonna have fun with this because the premise is simple. There's not really much for rules, and it just gets really silly really fast. And there's no learning curve, and skill doesn't come in a ton. So you're not worried about these people are going to lose all the time because they're bad. Well, no, everyone's going to lose all the time because it's hard. Very visceral game, very basic because you're just answering questions, but you're trying to multitask, but no one can multitask. So you just end up failing, and it's hilarious. But that's enough. Stay cool. Let's get to our beer here. So, yeah, that's still, well, you know what? Let's just, looks like a, maybe you can see here. Looks almost like there's a little piece of ice cream in here because of the center bubble here. That's interesting. All right. So, as I was having that sip, I noticed that the um, image for Mad Swede Brewing Company is what looks like a Viking, but the Viking is shaped like a hops. The beard is basically hops. So that explains why there's so much hoppy flavor in here. Now, as I had previously said, darker beers, you're going to get more of a balance. Now, this one, and I don't know how well you can see it, but it's a little bit more. No, you can't see it that well, I don't think. But it is a little bit see-through, right? It's still very dark, but when held up to light, I can still see through it. And I mean, browns are generally going to be darker ambers, right? So that what I do see is red. Now, as far as the flavor, it's definitely interesting. Definitely darker, so it's a bit more sweet, but they did load up on the hops. So you're still getting a lot of that, the hops bitterness. Yeah, you're still getting a lot of the hops bitterness, but it's not biting. And that's sort of been a theme lately in beers, is sort of getting that hops without the bitingness. But it is there, so you're getting that hops flavor, which is nice, rather tasty. And then um, it's not quite as sweet or malty as I had expected, and it might just have been a while since I've had a good nut brown ale. So it's not giving me as much of the sweet hop, or sorry, sweet malty flavoring. Um, Again, it's being a great vehicle for the hops, but something that isn't. What should I say? It's very bubbly, like, and that's might be why the head held up so good. So very carbonated, which is making for an interesting mouthfeel, which is nice. Um, yeah, I'm very much enjoying it. Like I really am. A little bit of a pininess to it as well, just at the end there, which is where I usually find piney flavor ends up. Um, it's definitely clean and crisp, more so than I would normally expect from a darker beer. So that's interesting. It definitely didn't have a lot of the profiles I expected, just being a darker beer. But that again, maybe I didn't really, even though I planned this ahead of time, research the nut around ale style as much. So it might be on style. I'll have to look that up. I encourage you to as well. I'm very interested to see what Scott's perspective is going to be on this. Scott, of course, the owner of Game Night Games and Cool Stuff, where you should buy stay cool at Cool Stuff at Game Night Games and Cool Stuff because it's cool. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll stop. Um, yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it because it's giving me just enough hops before I hit that pucker limit. I almost want to say where you have, you know, and I can enjoy those beers, but it's just you got to go in, knowing what you're getting, and you're not going to drink a ton of those in a night. But I'm enjoying the hops level in this. I will say maybe the hops is overwhelming. Uh, Anything else going on in the beer? It's very strong. And generally what happens is, at least I find, when you get a beer where the hops is overwhelming, the more you drink of it, the less influential or over influential that hops profile becomes. Hops profile, sorry. That hops profile becomes. So as I'm drinking more of it, I'm starting to get more into the brown, the nut brown flavors. Yeah, again, so I'm about halfway through the beer, and I'm getting more malt flavors through it. Um, you know, Getting further into it, I'd probably like to say I'd like to see a little less hops in this, um, just so I can get a little bit more of the malt profile in that. Um, but that might just be personal preference. This is a problem with a thumbs up, thumbs down scales because when I first tried this, I was going to give it the thumbs up. The more I critically, process it, and I'm looking at the beer here, and there's a point where you got to be critical. You can't just give everything the thumbs up. I'm going to have to rank this one similar to Shades, unfortunately. Uh, I like it. I could drink them. I'm not gonna give it the endorsement, not because it's not a good beer. You know, it's good. The hops profile is great, but it's overwhelming. It's too much hops for what I would normally want to see of a beer of this type. So sorry, Mad Sweet Brewing Company, I'm gonna throw you under the bus. You know, and the other thing too is that overly hoppy beers are kind of boring these days because everybody's doing it. Because every craft brewery that came out just makes stupid, crazy hoppy beers. Um, you know, Flying Monkeys is one that's, you know, they just make these crazy hoppy beers. That's their whole shtick. Mad Sweet, again, their logo is hops, right? So I get it, and you know, a lot of people would enjoy this beer. Um, just on the stance that there's too much hops for what I want out of a beer like this. Um, I'm gonna put it right there. And this isn't some wall of shame. This is because none of these beers out of this advent calendar are gonna be bad. They're all, you know, uh, gold gold medal. There we go. They're all gold medal winning beers. So, you know, these are all going to be good beers, but, you know, I do have to get critical at some point, and I find enough issues with this one that I'm not going to give it the endorsement. Again, still a good beer. In Lake Shades, it has enough going for it that you could sit down, you could drink it, you could enjoy it. When I go and I'm scanning through the beers, am I going to pick it out if I'm at the LC, the Liquor Commission, the beer store? You know, maybe, but I'd probably have to scan a few times, not find something else to say, oh, yeah, you know, that'll be fine. So, yeah, it, again, a fine beer, still has a decent taste to it, but just, I got a few nitpicks, and when you got a two-sided system, you know, that's just kind of where it goes. I might have a third tier if I get a genuinely bad beer. We'll have to see. But, yeah, so that's where we are. All right, I'm gonna call it there. You guys have a great day, and let's jump into this coming up week. We've got day 7 coming up tomorrow. You know I'm gonna be covering another beer, so just be ready for it. I'm gonna see if I can start doing this regularly at 8 o'clock. We're gonna set a 8 o'clock schedule time, and we'll see how that goes. All right.